Okay, good morning. Hello everyone. Welcome back to Mick's G60, Ute66. In the background here. Got a few things to talk about today. Made myself a little bit of a list. I've been busy doing bits with several little projects, working on it. First thing was leaks. If you've got a G60, you know you're always going to have leaks. Mine were primarily the rocker cover and the sump. The sump was in a bad way. In fact, I'm starting to have second thoughts about whether or not the reason my handbrake assembly was soaked in oil from the gearbox seal is actually from the sump. There was that much oil. It was ridiculous. It was out of shape. I took it right off, drained everything. I also managed to pick up a clutch bell housing cover off my other vehicle, which I've sold now. I've sold the little short wheelbase one. So I've got that bell housing cover. So I cleaned both of those two products up, and I've put them back on with new gaskets. The rocker cover gasket, the new gasket that came for the rocker cover was not cork. It was a rubber material. And when I first put it on and tightened it up, took it for a drive, and it leaked at the back of the motor. So I took it back off, cleaned it all back up again, and bedded it in JB Weld. You've seen the silicon high temperature sealant. That's probably, I'm not sure if you can read that reversed image. Anyway, it's red high temperature RTV gasket maker and sealant. So I bedded the rocker cover gasket in that and put it back on. Followed the instructions. You sort of bed it down, screw it down, not just firmly, not tight. Let it go off for a couple of hours and then tighten it up. So the silicon sort of started to go off. And anyway, fabulous seal. No more leaks from the rocker cover or the sump. I'll just turn you around so you can have a look underneath. Okay, so you can see there's the bell housing cover all rubbed back and painted. I couldn't get the Nissan blue, so that's the closest I could get to it, and it's actually nothing like it. It's Holden blue, so that's what that is. It's the oil and heat grade paint designed exactly for these things. And there's the sump, come up quite nice as well. So you can see the gasket squished out of the side there. You can see that I've got new spring washers, and I've also put flat washers, because what I found is when I took the sump off, where the bolts go through, you know, every time it leaked, whoever had it before, just keep tightening the bolts up. And so all it does is push and bend what's supposed to be flat, that flat section in here, where I'll try and get that torch right. Flat section in there is supposed to stay flat where the bolts are, and it dome shapes it upwards and crushes, so nothing ends up flat, and that surface should be flat. So I took the sump off, flattened the whole surface right the way around. There are 22 bolts around them, and some of them are a pain in the arse, especially when you're over the top of the drive shaft there. But anyway, it's all on, no drips, no leaks from the sump. However, I do appear to have a leak from the back of the motor in between the two there somewhere. So it could be the rear seal on the motor, which is enough to do when we end up getting the clutch done. So that's yet to come. It'll be later in the year now. I've got other things to spend money on, but anyway, so that was a great improvement. But you can still see I've got oil. I think it's coming out of that rear seal on the motor, and it runs back here. It's all over the gearbox, but I don't think that's gearbox oil. It doesn't smell like gearbox oil for starters, so you know, when you smell it, and everybody knows what gearbox oil stinks like. So I think it's coming from the motor, and we can fix that up later when I replace the clutch. Which, by the way, with regular driving, I've been driving it backwards and forwards to. There's the long range tank that I installed ages ago. 120 litres, just fits. Alloy tank. Anyway, yeah, with regular driving, I've been driving it down around the village, and just to go and put fuel in it and just warm it up, and you know, keep the parts moving. And it's the clutch throwout bearing doesn't make any noise anymore. The clutch engages quite well. It still needs a new clutch. I could see when I refitted the bell housing cover that the clutch plate was, you know, there's not a lot left. So I'm going to put a new assembly in. Well, we're going to get it rebuilt, as I said in the previous video. But that's yet to come. So, but in the meantime, I've done a few things. Rocker cover gasket leak, some cover did that. The fuel pump gasket leak. So down here, let me get my torch again so you can see. There's the mechanical fuel pump. So this is the, you know, the Nissan version. So unless your fuel pump looks like that, then you've got some sort of aftermarket thing. But it bolts onto the side of the block, as you can see, and it is operated by the camshaft. So as the camshaft turns, it turns or pushes and pulls the lever on the bottom of the pump, and it sucks the fuel from the tank up to the carby. So that's what that does. And after I cleaned everything off, I'll go back a step. You see I've repainted the dipstick as well. On the dash, I've got a oil pressure gauge. I did a bit of dash work and I had it disconnected. I was sitting just inside the firewall there, and when I put all the sump and everything back together and went to test it, I started the motor, and of course it squirted oil everywhere, come running out of there and dripped all over the motor, down the back of the motor. So I had to put all that back together and degrease it. And of course what that event hid was the fact that at the bottom on the ledge there underneath the fuel pump, where's the fuel pumps there, right? So on that ledge there, where that bolt hole is for the sump, the darker one, there, it's a bit hard to see actually. There's there is a leak running from the underside of the gasket, or that bolt fixing. So the bolt fixing, and there's it's very hard to show you, isn't it? Anyway, there's a bolt fix. There's two bolts that hold the fuel pump onto the block. There's one of them at the top there, and anyway, it dribbles. So my next job will be, it's not a big leak, as you can see. There's just a little bit on the shelf down there at the top of the sump, but it's annoying, you know. So I'm going to pull the fuel pump right off, and you can do that because the camshaft and everything, it's all above the height of where the oil levels are. So when you unbolt it, oil won't pour out of there unless you've overfilled your sump. And take that off. I searched high and wide. I couldn't search the internet for the right gasket. I couldn't find it, so I got some gasket material from where was it? Automotive shop up here, and some body filler. I'll talk to you about that in a second. So I'm going to make a new gasket and seal it again with the JB Weld high temperature gasket maker sealant, and bolt it back on, and that should be the end of that leak. The clutch rebuild and gearbox seal leak, like like I said, that's coming. Again, it's been coming for 12 months, hasn't it? But it still drives and everything works great. So I'm not in any major hurry to do the clutch. And like I said, I've got some other things I want to spend money on in the short term. So yeah, we'll just see what happens in the future. Like I said, probably late September, October, when I come back from Birdsville. I'm going to Birdsville, so going to the races. So after we do that tour, not in this vehicle, by the way, Y62 patrol, so they'll be a bit more comfortable. Once now that I've got these leaks done, I want to fix up that fuel pump leak on the other side over there first, and then I'm going to pull the handbrake assembly apart, wash it all down in petrol and put it back and adjust it up, see if I can get that going again. The exhaust leaks to buggery just at the manifold here. You can see the black soot, and you can hear it. You know, it sounds like it's farting when the motor's running, and it leaks there. Smoke comes out of there when it burns oil. Anyway, it just drops straight down. You can see there's a muffler. It's very simple stuff. It just drops straight down there. There's a muffler there, and it squirts out in front of the back wheel. So what I want to do, I'm going to take it to an exhaust guy and get it where it comes here, where it gets to the back of the cabin. I want to turn it upwards. I want it to go up there, inside here, and you can see the back of the cab. There's two bolts here. I reckon that's what that was. There's a mark there as well. I reckon this used to have a vertical riser, so I want that up here with a you know, tink flap on it. So it'll just make it look a bit different. I was thinking about it last night, maybe from the tink down to the bend should be all chrome. It sort of stand out, you know. Anyway, that's just another project for the future. Oh, I've recoated the deck. Remember, I did all the sides with that U-Butte paint. Anyway, all I'd done with the deck material, which is Mubau, was I put 2 coats of Everdure. It's a marine grade two-pack epoxy. It basically turns maple timber into hardwood. Not that I needed that. This is hardwood, but it's more of a protectant than a finish. So I sanded this all back because it had scuff marks and boot marks from me walking around in the back of it. Sanded it all off and gave it 2 coats of the same stuff I put on the sides here, and it's come up a treat. Just drop the back here, and you can see come up really good. And I even put the same material up here on the metal, and it's given it a really good finish. So I'm wondering if I might test it on other bits of metal work. I might test it on the tray side. I don't know why this video keeps stopping, the image keeps stopping, but anyway, I'm going to try it just on the sides of the tray itself, and see if it just maintains the patina, and see if it doesn't peel off, because it's meant for timber, not metal. But that look of the old metal with it on it's like a semi finish, and it seems to be hard as buggery. So I'm going to see what it goes like on that, and then never know, I might do the body with it. So that was that. Inside. So might remember we worked out the two. Let me get the torch. It's still under the car. The two lights here, the red and green one, I thought it was port and starboard for blinkers. It's not. That is a dedicated blinker one. It's green, and my auto elect has put LEDs behind them, so they look the same. But anyway, one of the blinker one had fallen off, so that's back on again, and we just put this back in, turn it on. So now I've got a green blinking light. So that's what your blinker is. So at least I I can occasionally not drive around with my blinker on like I normally do. And then over here, the centre piece of dash was a mess. What is going on with this video? So I've rubbed it all back and painted it matte black, and that's the oil pressure gauge that was already there. And my story, you might recall, about the petrol gauge on the dash was not compatible with the sender on this long range tank. So I got this Chinese made one. It took ages to come, 50mm gauge, but anyway, it works. As you can see, my tank is 3/4 full, and when you turn the headlights on, it's People's Republic of China red. But anyway, it works. It's all wired up, so I'm very happy with that. On the inside, also on the inside, I had the rubber boots for the gear stick, the four-wheel drive sticks, and the handbrake, and the round one there for the gearbox, for the gear change lever, was perfect. It just fits into the hole. It's like an open gap, and it just slips into the metal of that hole around. So it works quite well. But these ones were a pain in the ass. So the handbrake boot is totally separate to this dual boot that does your two-wheel four-wheel drive low and high, right? So this pair, that pair is one boot, and this is a separate boot. So what I had to do, the holes in the metalwork here did not suit the shape of these boot bases the way that one worked. So I had to put the handbrake boot right up against this one, so much so I had to cut the shape of I had to cut 1/2 inch off the side of this boot, and then I had to make up a plate to go around it to hold the whole thing in place, right? So what I did, this is my first time, I've got a little plasma cutter, and I found that as long as I used straight edges to guide the tip of my thing, I was able to cut this quite straight. So I made this plate out of, I had a sheet of 3mm plate, and I've shaped that. I'll go around the other side because the light's not very good. I've shaped, where's the torch? Get it in a minute. So you can see there's I don't even know what that hole's for, or that one there, but I'm hoping I can get just rubber grommets that will fit them, 50mm and 60x40 or something. So I had to shape these, and that plate runs right round. So very happy with that effort. That come up really good. So no more gases. Like I said, I just got to fill these two holes, and I haven't got any fumes coming up through the floor, which is makes life a bit more comfortable. What else is on the list? Oh yeah, I've got an original miles per hour gauge back in. This is a 66 model. So, and for some reason it had a kilometres gauge in it. Now, and I noticed that it was cockeyed. It was on a 30-degree angle, right? I've rung up Michael Hill from G60 fans, and he looked up his parts book, and he tells me that the different models there's two brackets on the back of them, and they're either at 30 degrees or 40 degrees. So the kilometres one was at 40 degrees, and when it was put into the brackets on the back of this dash, it sat cockeyed. It wasn't straight. So anyway, I thought, oh, well, I got that 73 model, short wheelbase, had a miles per hour gauge in it, which I wanted. So I took it out and swapped them over, and I put it in here. It turned out that the 30-degree thing was the same, so it was cockeyed, but I was able to manipulate and make myself a bracket to bring it straight. Connected it all up and it works. So yeah, very happy with that. That's a new addition. Oh yeah, and just a little toy I've put on the battery. If you're interested in these, I've got 4 of them now. Wrong side. Where am I going? On the battery, this Velcroed onto there, little battery monitor. OBD number 2. If you Google them, it's an Australian mob that distribute them. These are $44 each. You can get one for, this is lead acid battery, obviously, and it's just wired straight to your terminals across the positive and negative. It's Bluetooth, and it runs on an app on your phone. The app, I think it costs $16 for a lifetime to run 4 of them. So I bought 4 of them. I bought 4 lead acid ones, and I bought 1 lithium battery one that goes in the back of the Y62 that runs the fridge. So I can now look at one app on my phone and know where my battery levels are at any one time. I thought it was a pretty good thing. So OBD2 if anyone's interested. What else? Oh, I'm about to embark on a bit of body work, which I've never been a fan of, but I've been watching plenty of YouTube stuff, and you might recall I had the spots of rust all the way through here. In fact, the piece of metal is here. So I'll bring this over too. So what I've done is, this was like that. So it was pretty chewed out with rust, right? So I ground it back, ground the whole surface, as you can see. And what I did that was with a little die grinder. Where's it now? Probably here. That's it. Little die grinder. eBay, cheapest one money could buy, $36. So 1/4 inch shaft, very cheap, runs at 90 PSI. Says don't forget to turn the pressure down on your compressor. So I used that, and I made a cutting. I've got these tiny little 80mm cutting discs from Bunnings, and I made it using one of the 1/4 inch shaft thingos. I bolted it on like that with a wider washer to try and grab hold of the. It's not perfectly centered, which is a bit of a danger, but once you start using it, the blade wears so that it becomes centered. So using the die cutter, drill, I used this to cut. I marked it up straight and parallel, and then cut that out. And you can see this is the section in behind there. That's actually the headliner. You can see in there, I'm moving it up and down, and the wiring for the lights. So that is the inner roof panel, and it had rust, so I gave it a bit of a scrub and painted it last night with rust converter. So I'm all ready to start the next phase. I've made up my panel. I just went to the local Smash Repairs and asked if they had any 19 gauge metal material. Now, the thickness is important, that you try and get the same thickness metal as what you're trying to patch. So, just if I can get this out of its packet, another eBay find, a wire gauge spelt with a C, so you know where that's come from. But in any case, it seems to be fairly accurate, and it gives you the metal gauge thicknesses. So the body panels are usually 18 or 19 gauge. Where are we? So 18, yeah, about 18 or 19 gauge down the bottom there where my thumb is. So I went into the smash repairs. He gave me some bits of material, bits of offcuts from smashed up cars, and I've sanded it back, used the piece I cut off as a template, and remarked my new piece that I've made up there. I've even tried to put a bit of curve in it. I just see the curve in that there, in its length, just so that it sort of matches this curve of the body. So I'm ready to just hold that in place, and I've got my little MIG welder. I'm just going to spot weld it just at 1 inch spaces until I get it in, so it's nice and flush wherever I put a weld dot. And once that's in, I can fill in between the dots and grind it back again with a little die grinder. Touch it up with a bit of bog, and undercoat it with a bit of industrial grade etch primer and grey just for now. And then I'll have to buy some other colours. I'm going to have to try and buy some of this old oxide red and what have you, so I can get that patina back. But that's got to be repaired. That's, you know, on its way to being repaired now. And of course there's the door. So I'm going to have to do a similar thing. I think this is going to end up about 2 inches wide right through here. It's about in line where the bloody winder is for the window. There's a bit of stuff down the bottom here, but I think I'll be able to just grind that back and bog it up. Good enough to get the blue slip is what I'm after. So yeah, that's about where I'm at. Yeah, so that's about where I'm at. Like I said, it's running and driving, and it's really is working quite well. And I'll be able to, I don't think I'm going to have, once I do these little minor rust repairs, I don't think I'm going to have a problem getting a blue slip. And then I'll register it and start using it. Vehicle back to life after 56 years, so 54 years. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. There's my paraphernalia on the back of it, the old, what do I call them? Nameplates, bloody novelty plates. So yeah, we'll be all ready to register it. So anyway, I hope you're all having fun with your G60s. Till the next time, all the best.